Hey guys, I'm gonna go on ahead and kick off my YouTube channel with not quite a let's play or a walkthrough or tutorial or anything like that, but just a bit of a look at the gameplay of Darkest Dungeon. Game's gotten really popular lately, and I think for good reason. It's a bit of a dungeon dwelling, turn-based combat RPG. I know that's like a lot of genres thrown into one. One thing to note about the game, it is still in early access, so there's a lot of bugs and glitches and things that need to be fixed, as well as the mechanics not being perfected. It's for anyone who, for whatever reason, may not know what early access means, aside from being self-explanatory. Basically, it's still in beta. It's not a finished game. $20 at the moment on Steam, unless you catch it off Steam or on sale. Right now, what we're looking at is a bit of an overworld of sorts. Like I said, not really a tutorial, so I don't want to go through too much of like all of these things, but basically, each and every one of them is vital. Stagecoach is where you will be going to get new characters to come and play for you, because your characters will die very often on that. Like I said, Dark Souls level difficulty. This is all of the characters that I've lost in the, I think, 40 hours I have on this game. I've seen the lists of people that have lost well into the hundreds. Like, it's pretty intense. This will be the guild. You'll go there, as it says. Like, each one gives you like a brief little blurb. Upgrade. I'm gonna do a whole video later on stress relief and things like that, because stress is a very big, and I will say that it does seem, I don't want to say unique because there's other things like that, but it does feel different compared to other ones. But like I said, that's a whole nother video. Early access, I don't know if they're going to be adding this later on. I've never been able to figure out what that is. But going ahead and hit embark. I'm going to see if I can find a short one, because I really don't want to hit you guys. Huh. No short ones, so you're stuck with me for a while. I think I'll just end up cutting it short, because a medium one, good enough time to say this, short ones will take you 10 to 15 minutes, I'll say. Medium ones have taken me anywhere between 20 and 30, and I haven't done a long one yet. But regardless, as it is a green one, basically, you know, kind of basic difficulty, that's the word I was looking for. Difficulty scaling, green being the easiest, yellow being a bit of a medium, and red being hard. This being a very difficult game, its easiest difficulty is still very difficult. One thing that I would like to look at real quick in terms of gameplay, preferred position is very poorly named. They have to be in those positions, otherwise they are nowhere near as effective. For example, let's go to my leper. No, wrong leper. His preferred position are those two in the front. If you actually look through the leper's skills, those little dots there at the bottom are the locations that he can be at while using this, because there's 4 slots for each character. If he's not in one of those two positions, he can't use those attacks, which means he's literally useless. He can't use any of his moves. So, certainly something to keep in mind. I'm going ahead and make my team of a Hellion. Yeah, I'll use Bounty Hunter. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to right click. Bounty Hunter, and Jester, and Occultist. Not quite my favorite team. Kind of, lacks, like, I have one person who can heal. One thing about this game that's kind of bothering me, doesn't feel like there's much of a difference between a lot of the characters. For example, the Leper, the Hellion, and the Crusader are all tanky, high damage characters, but with different trade-offs. Like, the Leper has very low accuracy, but when he does hit, he hits for an incredible amount of damage. The Hellion is kind of down further, where she does seemingly a bit more. No, I wouldn't say she does more damage, but she hits more often, so she feels like she does more damage, but doesn't have the same tankiness, I guess. Not quite the word I want to use, but I guess that's the best one for it. And then the Crusader somewhere in between, where he's kind of tanky, does a decent amount of damage, but more than anything, he can heal and can buff teammates. Kind of the paladin of the game. Provision screen. One thing you should note, you do not get back things that you don't use. It does not carry over. So, bring what you think is an appropriate amount. One thing this game has taught me is that over-preparation is great. Never had any use for a medicinal herb, skeleton key, or holy water. Seen other people use them. I myself, I would rather save the gold. it stacks up. Like in that, they're not very much. One thing about this game that I'm not too big a fan of, the loading screens are completely static. I myself am a sucker for games like Skyrim with interactive, even if it's something as simple as moving, like in Skyrim, how you can move the model of what it is around. It's just once you read the tip box, pardon me again, like I said, 5 in the morning, I'm not meaning to yawn so much, I'm sorry about that. But once you've read, games only come with 10, 15 tips, and once you've played enough of the game, you've read the same tips 15 times, and it's just so annoying. But as it is medium, it will be a very long campaign. I'm thinking I might just do this handful of rooms and then call it a day, because to do all of this video will end up being a minimum of half an hour, and it could reach that anyway. But bit of a mini map here. You kind of have to use it. These are the rooms. As you can see, I have to explore 90% of those rooms. The little boxes in the middle, not the rooms. I didn't know that at first. But going ahead, you can't see what you're going to run into unless you've scouted it, so just forward on forward. Found this in the back. Go ahead and pick it up, why not? Cool. Found extra supplies. Got some gold and more food. Always great things to have. The more food you have, you're never going to be in a bad position from having too much food. Don't know what's in here. Awesome. There's nothing in here, so I'm safe for now. Explored the room, no penalty, no fight. And as well as that, I scouted, which is awesome. I actually may end up going through more after all, because these are just going to be walking to. Looking at the minimap a bit, if a room has this symbol, it is completely empty. This symbol, there's a fight. That means there's an item, that means there's a trap, and that means there's a fight as well. There can also be a treasure chest or a goblet. The treasure chest, there's almost always a fight there, and I very rarely haven't had a fight with Goblet. Go on ahead and be on my way. Since I've scouted this, I can go on ahead and get that trap out of the way. Sometimes it still goes off, because this game is just an asshole. Sometimes those are empty, sometimes those are trapped. It's all more or less a dice roll. But from scouting, I know there's nothing in here, so normally you would want to be proceeding a bit more carefully while playing this. I know that there's going to be a fight right there. The higher the light level, the easier the fight, but also your characters won't crit and the loot won't be as good. I myself would rather just get out. Hate these things. That's the only attack I've ever seen them use. Increases your stress greatly. It's incredibly obnoxious. One thing about the fighting in this game that I've found to be the most effective is that if you just focus one of them down, rather than try to kill a bunch at once, then it just seems so much more effective. Because you remove one of the threats and everything in this game is capable of doing some intense damage. Go ahead and use Slice Off. Of course, if you can use AoE, there's no reason not to, unless it's just a bad skill. But for the most part, I prefer... my favorite class is the Leper, except... Actually, no, maybe Bounty Hunter, because of that, he has a very high crit chance. But I would say... for the most part, you just want to have at least one heavy hitter in your little group. Kind of like basic party building things, going back to really any party-based RPG that you've ever played. I have to backtrack now. You are going to want to have a healer. You're going to want to have the fast roguish type, which will be my Jester. You're going to want to have the scouty type, which is the Bounty Hunter. And then you're going to want to have the hard-hitting type character, which, as said earlier, could be Hellion, could be Leper, could be Crusader. They're all kind of the same class, sadly. Hunger, this is why you have to have food. Literally the main purpose for it, other than healing off a minuscule amount of health. You have to eat. If you choose to starve, then you take heavy stress damage as well as lose a fifth of your health. And normally you'll also have some other debuffs. So instead, eat 4 food. I think... I can't tell. Anyway, continuing on. Awesome. Good time for me to go on ahead and say this. Did you get anything weird? Yep. This game has quirks and... yeah, just quirks. There's positive quirks, which will be yellowish white, and then there's the negative ones, which will be red. What came into effect there, he has Dark Temptation, which makes it so that anytime we walk past, say, a dark shrine or something like that, he has to investigate it. Isn't always a bad thing, but this game has a tendency to, for lack of a better term, it just fucks with you. You'll find a chest that you just got from beating a boss and it's trapped. Whereas every video game you've ever played, you're taught, okay, I just beat this boss, I earned this chest. But in this game, it's like, you beat the boss, you earn the chest, you open the chest, and suddenly your character gets that. That was a very good time for that. Go on ahead and use the bandage, get rid of that bleeding. I don't know what's in this room, could be a fight, so I'm going to use more torches, make it a bit more easy of a fight on me. And it was. These are actually some of my favorite mobs, incidentally. Again, the whole thing where your position completely matters. He can only use, if you can see the dots, he can only use this if he's in one of my back 2 spots, and using it he can only attack people in their back 2 spots. But it is AoE, and I am a whore for AoE, I will say. He just marked my person, which, as well as giving him a debuff, which is incidental, as well as giving a debuff that makes him more likely to get hit. If you... Yes. If you mark a character, it's kind of like just any game where you put, you know, Hunter's Mark or something like that on someone. It just makes it so that they're going to take more damage, and generally the AI is probably going to focus them. Cool. Might get lucky here. Not as lucky as I wanted, but cool. I could die from that. I don't have any bandages to get rid of that bleeding, but if I did, one thing that's worth mentioning, cool thing about this game, you know, if you're playing like a game like Pokemon or something, and it's a turn-based combat game, if you want to heal your person with, say, a potion or get rid of poison with an antidote, then it takes up a turn. But in this, if it was his turn and I had a bandage, I could use it and still attack, which is a very nice little thing. Now it's just, obviously I've already won this fight, so I'm just hacking away at this guy and waiting for it to end. Hellion seems to be a crowd favorite. Every time I go on Reddit, YouTube, forums, or anywhere I am where they're talking about this game, people seem very hyped up about the Hellion. I personally prefer the Leper. But that's because I've always preferred the big, heavy-hitting, unstoppable types. The Hellion is still very easy to kill. It doesn't have very much tank ability.
But a victory nonetheless.
Scouting through it. Going ahead and move up to this room. Disarm the trap. So, you're stuck listening to me for one more fight. Oh, gotta eat. Don't necessarily need to use that torch, but I've always been the kind... Wow, cool. Very easy fight. But I've always been the kind to just err on the safer side of caution, I suppose would be the best way to say it. No. Harvest. These are some of the easiest mobs to go up against. They're mainly just an inconvenience later on. Green ones can poison you, and the web ones will stun you to make the fight kind of drag on a bit longer. Whole thing's just kind of a mental... You know, like when you're constantly getting stunned, you're not going to be taking that much damage. You do still take damage, but you're not going to be taking a game-changing amount of damage. It's just that you're stuck here for 7 rounds over and over and over, and you're pissed off, and you continue playing the game, and you're still so pissed off. Like, this whole game, honestly, like, can't call it a masterpiece, you know, it's an early access, but I would rate this game very highly as of now, with the exception of a couple of, albeit very large, flaws. It seems to have gotten everything else right. Like, it's kind of an all-or-nothing type deal. Except, of course, this happens, and now I hate the game. There we go. I love this game. One thing I do love, background art, you know, kind of sets the mood of where you are. Like, I don't have to question where I am with this. You know, I know I'm somewhere where I really probably shouldn't be.
As victories mount, so too will resistance.
Cool. This portrait, as well as this crest down here, there are 4 types of heirlooms you can get that you use to upgrade the buildings in the game. The 4 are bust, portrait, crest, and deed. Each one takes a different combination of them. While I'm here, well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and travel back to this room. so that I can show you guys how camping works. I will say you have to be in one of the big rooms, or I should say the rooms. I'm just so used to calling them big rooms. You have to be in one of the big squares on the minimap. You can't just camp out in the middle of the hall. This is provided for you anytime you're in a medium or further campaign. Just go, use it, and then pick this. It'd be kind of silly for me at the moment. I would just waste 8 food, because it would take away 10 stress, but none of my guys are even at half stress, so it's not that important. And it would heal for 25% of my health, but only one of my guys is really missing any worthwhile amount of health, so I'll just go to that one, heal them for what I need to. But what it's mostly for is that everyone has 3 skills that they can use on each person. Some of them decrease stress, some of them increase something just for the character, and then some, like this one, heals. So in a situation like this, where no one's really too stressed out, no one's really missing health except for one person, then I find it most effective to just do this, just like go through all my characters and reduce stress as much as possible. Or things like this, where it's kind of like a trade-off. Like, these 2 guys have a decent amount of stress, like a considerable amount, nothing that's going to end me, but enough to consider, whereas he has literally none. So if I increase his by 20 and reduce everyone else's by 20, it's not that bad of a thing. So his stress is lower, his stress is non-existent, he's only got 20, not too bad. And then I go to him, now his is lower. So this is really all of what this is for. Like, you just stay here and use all of this. You never want to leave anything undone. There's no penalty for having unused abilities. So there's really no reason not to... What is this? Cool. So there's really no reason not to use each and every last thing that you can. But you only have 12, I guess, hours to use each one. And then you rest and you guys say, alright, time to go on. There's a small chance that you can be ambushed, and then there's another extra fight. But they go through this little, I guess, more or less cutscene. Yeah, cool. Extra fight. But I'll go on ahead and end the video right here, because if I go on ahead and go through this, then you guys are going to be stuck here for as much as I ramble. Honestly, you could be stuck here for upwards of an hour. So I may go on ahead and go work on that stress video. As I said, it is 5 in the morning, at this point 5:30ish, so I may just end up talking to you guys tomorrow. No school or work tomorrow for me. Professors called it off, and Fridays are my day off, so who knows? You guys may be stuck with me adding quite a bit of content to my new channel. I have quite a few games that I would like to go ahead and get out of the way. Sorry to turn this also into a bit of an introductory video. May end up doing some Don't Starve, will end up doing more of this game, as well as a couple things. My friends actually all built their own computers and ended up downloading like 9 games, and I followed suit, so I've got quite a bit of content to pick from. But until then, thank you for watching. Hopefully I was able to affect your decision on whether or not you end up picking this game. I highly suggest it. $20 isn't that crazy of an amount for a game like this. I don't know. It's really cool. Especially, the lore, the whole world of it all, the mechanics of it, and normally they give kinda perks to, beta testers and early release players and things like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna go on ahead and let you guys go. So, once more, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again soon.